Hey now, how's it going, man?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you, Shaun?
Oh, well, thank you for joining us this evening. It's very hot here today, but I'm still smiling.
Well, that's good. Sunshine is great.
Yes.
I'm
Well,
from I'm from Guatemala, so I wait for these days.
it's great if you have air conditioning. We're so not used to heat, we don't have air conditioning in this country.
I'll tell you what. We're going to talk about Julian Assange.
Yes.
I'm sure that he is in prison right now, much better because when it was winter, the heating wouldn't work, and they wouldn't allow him to have any extra clothing, even though he has his clothes there. And he is not. He's only on remand. So, what other privileges would you want? Would you have if you should have extra privileges? He's in a supermax prison, the special rapporteur on torture from the United Nations, Neil Smeltzer, has said that he's been psychologically tortured. And I would add to that not solving this and having the entire winter having to insulate his windows with books because it was too cold is physical torture. So
Okay, Juan, before we get further into Julian, then, could you just tell the viewers a little bit about your background and what brought you to Julian's case?
sure, I'm journalist, filmmaker. I've been filming Julian for 11 years now. Well, actually, not 11 years. I've been following the case for 11 years, filming him for about nine. And Following the war against freedom of the press and free speech that the US, UK, Sweden, Ecuador, Australia, and other Western countries are playing to censor dissent. I met Julian in 2010 by I was called to film in the Iraq War Logs, which was one of the releases he's being indicted for. We became friends, and I've been filming him ever since.
So, have you been filming also the other guys who are behind WikiLeaks?
Yes.
And how's that working out?
Well, I think that everybody that's involved in the movement of exposing wrongdoing and holding government to account is has has had some government pressure to stop in different ways, and all people not only related to WikiLeaks, but Edward Snowden, other whistleblowers in the United States and the UK, they've suffered grave consequences for their bravery.
So, would you say that Julian Assange is a victim of the tides of political change?
Julian Assange is a victim of the United States war apparatus, the military intelligence industrial complex. It doesn't matter if it was Obama or if it's Trump or if it's the new Democratic government. They come and go, but the constant is the people who run the Pentagon, the people who run the CIA, the NSA, and those are the people that WikiLeaks has been exposing for 10 years. It started out in 2010 with a video showing how an Apache helicopter killed 11 civilians, including two Reuters journalists, in cold blood. And it continued to they continued to make the biggest military leak in history, then the biggest diplomatic leak in history. And those are actually, then the Guantanamo file showed CIA torture. Those are the publications that he is now being indicted for. The United States wants Julian, and he's being charged for 175 years for literally doing journalism, for doing the exact same thing that The Guardian, the New York Times, Der Spiegel, Le Monde, El País, they all did the same thing. Obviously, they've managed to create a campaign, a 10-year campaign to defame Julian, to call him a narcissist, a rapist, a hacker. And that is repeated by the media constantly. They've made him they've made him a devil, a monster, right? Not the person I know, but the person the media sees, right? And that has made it very easy to then go after him. And I mean, this is a strategy that is as old as time. We're just seeing it at the level that we're seeing it right now, because the war apparatus has grown out of proportion. So what we've been seeing for the last 10 years has been an intense campaign to silence journalists throughout the West, including in the United Kingdom. They're passing a new State Secrets Act, which will not differentiate in between journalism and espionage, and will put journalists behind bars for publishing any documents that show anything that they consider national security. Doesn't matter if it's wrongdoing or not. But I mean, this is a trend that we've been seeing throughout. Australia has been doing the same. They've been invading the offices of the one of the main broadcasters there. In the United States, they've been spying on journalists, and there are several people that have gone through this espionage process, which is a very old law for just literally revealing secrets that the public needed to see, that the public needed to understand, because they were grave injustices, they were grave war crimes, they were torture, they were murder. And if we don't have that, we lose our ability to be able to decide who should we elect, right? So in maybe I should maybe simplify things in the later question, but in what we are fighting right now in the Julian Assange case is literally what I consider the end of democracy, because we will not be able to elect our leaders for what they do, because we won't be able to know what they do. Because if we report what they do, we will be imprisoned for a very long time. You were talking about charges being very high. Well, how about exposing war crimes for 175 years?
It's obscene. So I've got a few points to make on this then. The collateral murder video, I think it had like tens of millions of views when I showed it to my parents, and they were absolutely flabbergasted and horrified. And it was brilliant that Julian brought that to the world to show the reality, like this video game dynamic where people were just cackling and making jokes as people being murdered in cold blood. I don't know if that video is still on YouTube, but if people watching this have not seen that video, Collateral Murder, I urge them to watch it. So not long after that, I wrote to Julian in the embassy, and he did send me an email, and he asked me, to raise some support for him, etc. And I did do some posts, and this was around the time the allegations of the sex stuff in mainland Europe came about. And I remember I got hugely attacked for supporting, blah, 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 blah. But now when I post a video about Julian, it is unanimously supported. So earlier on, you said that they tried to create a monster in the media, but don't you think that has now backfired? They've created a martyr in the media, I would say.
Well, the media is not reporting it. It is true that there has been a change in the last year and a half, including the major newspapers supporting him. But We're talking about the biggest freedom of speech case in the West in our lifetime. And we don't hear about it every day. We hear about Navalny every day, right? And there's a political prisoner who is in prison for revealing war crimes in Belmarsh prison, which the UN says, who the UN says is being tortured. And do we hear about it every day, as we should? Putin says it. I mean, the foreign, the two leaders met, and the foreign affairs minister or something like that was saying that they should, the West should stop criticizing their internal policies, meaning their abuses in human rights, talking about the Navalny case, so that they can stop criticizing the Julian Assange case and their human rights abuses. So what Russia's trying to do right now, because the United States and the United Kingdom are behaving exactly like Russia, exactly like China. They're being authoritarian, and they're violating every single human right that they supposedly stand for. Russia is saying, well, join us, join the club, and we'll just, be hush hush and do our little politics of supremacy in the way we do. Let's stop criticizing our little peccadillos, and let's allow ourselves to crush dissent and rule on the people the way we want to rule, not in a democratic way, not in a rule of law way, but in an oligarchic warmongering fashion, as we have been seeing for the last 10 years, and especially in the last few years.
So Julian is a hero to the activists. His journalism has been 100% accurate, but mainstream media tried to demonize him by saying that information he released caused people to get killed in the field. What is your response to that argument?
Well, it's great that you mentioned that WikiLeaks has had 100% record of publishing. It has never published anything that is wrong. Every single document out of the millions and millions of documents that they have published. Some people, including I think Amnesty International, have claimed that they have published more secrets than most of the Western media. And they also have a fantastic record of keeping sources safe. No source that has ever come to harm because of WikiLeaks. Now, the allegations of putting lives at risk, they're the oldest trick in the book, right? When WikiLeaks revealed the collateral murder video, it revealed the death squads in Afghanistan that were killing innocent civilians. They revealed the coalition troops that went into a farmer's house and they handcuffed a farmer, his wife, his extended family, which was 4 women and 6 children, and then they executed them. And then to erase any evidence, they called in a war plane to drop a missile in the house. That's what they revealed, right? And the biggest war apparatus in the world at that point in time, the one that killed 1 million people, is accusing the messenger of putting lives at risk. It's absolutely preposterous. It's how you make propaganda, but the media bites. The media bites very easily. It's also interesting to note that once these documents were revealed, the Pentagon started a task force called the WikiLeaks Task Force. It was manned by about 100 people. You can Google this. It's easy to find. The head of this task force was Brigadier General Robert Carr. He, in 2013, in Chelsea Manning's trial, the alleged whistleblower of WikiLeaks, for those publications, had to testify under oath that in the 3 years that they had been investigating, they had not found a single person that came to harm for these crimes. Now, I'm going to put another example. The BBC, the great beacon of journalism of the West of the UK. When the Iraq War was happening in 2010, they were biting biting the bait, eating the bait of government, saying, the government and official sources and intelligence says that there are weapons of mass destruction. They got a source called David E. Kelly, he was a nuclear specialist of some kind, and he confirmed that there were no. It was impossible that Iraq was going to develop any nuclear weapons anytime soon with whatever the capacity was. I'm unaware of the details of this, but they're really not important to my point. The point is that they published this as a BBC source has said that weapons of mass destruction are not Iraq doesn't have them, so we shouldn't have the invasion, right? The BBC then fucked up and released their source, and that source was found dead. He killed himself, or they killed him. Who knows? The official story is he killed himself. Now, the BBC has blood on their hands. WikiLeaks doesn't. Nobody's found a single person that has been harmed as a result of any of the publications of WikiLeaks.
As the viewers want to watch our video we did with Norman Baker on the strange death of Dr. David Kelly, that I believe is still on the channel after the Great Purge. And perhaps the moderators could put that in the live chat, because it is a fascinating case and it ties in with what Juan just said. And there's a lot more details about that in there that I think would fascinate people. All right, so how is Julian coping right now? What is his legal status? Because it's just so weird that he's just being held.
It's just so weird that he's being held. But the thing is, I've been following this case for so long, mate, and it's quite amazing. I still get my jaw dropped from time to time. But what I have learned is that there is always an Assange exception to every norm. Anything that you don't expect is going to happen happens, right? Yeah. The UN ruled in 2015 that he was being arbitrarily detained. They still maintain that. This is the world's foremost panel on arbitrary detention, panel that usually the UK abides by, but in this case, they don't care. In 2019, the UN Special Rapporteur on Torture said Julian shows signs of psychological torture. The United Kingdom refuses to investigate. The judge in the case made in the magistrate court hearing. These extradition cases are long, and we can expect it to go all the way up to the Supreme Court, if not the European Court of Human Rights. Although who knows, they might snatch him and take him to the United States in a weird maneuver. Everything is possible, but as law should go, in the magistrate court, it was very unlikely that Julian was going to win. No one was expecting it, and in fact, the judge ruled in favor of every single point of the prosecution, saying, which basically sealed the doom of British journalism, because she basically said the president that any journalist who publishes secrets of the United States can be extradited for those secrets. And the only reason that Julian wasn't extradited was because of his mental health and the appalling conditions of prison in the United States, where he would be subjected to something called SAM, Special Administrative Measures, which is isolation for the rest of his life in a bricked little cell where he would not be able to talk to anybody. I think 15-minute calls every month to a family member. This is where El Chapo is, and the U.S. Worst terrorists are. And a publisher is being considered exactly the same as the worst murderers in our society. How he is, he must be suffering. I can't imagine anybody in his situation not suffering dearly. I've had contact with his fiancée, who has some regular contact with him. She says, he's doing the best he can, but that he's not well. And this has been confirmed by anybody that has been to see him. He has not seen his lawyers for months. I think they're just starting to reopen prisons to be able to visit. Before the trial, 3 weeks before the trial, the United States illegally introduced new evidence into the case, although it was months before the evidence had already been submitted. And the way they did it was to take back the extradition request they had and put in a new one. So in theory, Julian was free for a couple of minutes. And that way they managed to reintroduce more evidence, which he did not have time to analyze. And he actually received the indictment that his trial started. He was not able to talk for months with his lawyers, apart from 10-minute phone calls. In a case that is so complex with, I've seen the boxes, man. They cover, they're a room full of information. This is a very complex case. And he's not getting a fair treatment. Every single right he has, the United Kingdom has managed to abuse. He's not getting the right to a fair trial. Although recently I was reading a book about immigration, and I saw in page number 1 of the United Kingdom values that it says that the UK will guarantee you a right to a fair trial. And I just laughed. I thought, okay, I don't think I'll be living in the UK much longer.
Yeah, and the judge held the millions that they'd spent policing the embassy against him. And why would they spend that much money, to shut Julian up? Well, if you look at the contracts for the military-industrial complex, it's like in the trillions. And what did they specialize in? They drop bombs on the poorest countries of the world, creating millions of deaths, more than half of which are women and kids. Everything's upside down. The guy exposing this.
It's 80%.
The guy exposing this. It's 80% is women and kids.
Yeah.
Oh my
Civilians
God.
in general. At least in the Iraq War.
Wow.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that. See how much threatened are the security forces about this information getting out. Remember the case I was talking about previously. This case came to light in Iraq and never really made it very big in the US, and definitely no one was tried or even an investigation really seriously opened. But out of that, the consequences of that was that the Iraqi prime minister, I always mix the two, Afghanistan. See, this is how easy it is. They mix the two in your mind. And then suddenly invading Afghanistan is the same as invading Iraq, but I'm diverting. So because of that cable that was released in 2011, the government decided to remove the immunity of armed forces in Iraq, and that caused the biggest retreat of soldiers. Obama closed most of U.S. bases in that point in time. Although the war was officially over, it was not. Everybody knew, and saying that the war is over now would be a lie, which is why I'm not saying it. I'm saying it caused the biggest de-escalation of troops. And why, if that person that revealed that cable did so much harm to your business, and your business is killing, why would you, what would you do to try and maintain and make sure that business doesn't get interfered with in the future? Obama had to stop a drone program in Pakistan because it was ruled illegal, because they were killing people with a list. Obama signed a list every Tuesday in the intelligence meeting of the names of the people that he was going to go and murder in Pakistan, a country which they were not at war with, and they were just invading it. And I can tell you stories and stories and stories,
but we've run out of time, and I know we had some other things to talk about, but perhaps we could get you on at some point in the future. So I'm going to urge people to check out your film, The War on Journalism, The Case of Julian Assange. And if people want to contact you on social media, are you on like Twitter or Facebook or anything?
Sure, I'm at JL Passarelli. That's double S and double L, on Twitter. That's my main social media.
Appreciate it.
I update people about the case regularly.
Appreciate it, Juan. We will put all of your links below the video. So please, viewers, if you like what you heard today, go down and support Juan's work. And you have a great rest of your day, my friend.
You too, mate. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Have a nice
Cheers.
day.
Bye-bye. Bye.